presenting Channeling Eric's Hour of Enlightenment.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I want to first off say, before I forget, because I'm sort of addle-brained, being 61 years old, that we are not going to have the show next week because that's going to be travel time for Kim. She's coming to Houston, H-Town, for the Channeling Eric event here, which is going to be very special. Kim, you can talk about that at the end of the show if you want. But
Sure.
Before we start, that'd be awesome. Before we start, I just want you guys to know that we're going to be talking pretty soon to my baby, Eric Medhus, 21-year-old son who died a few years ago, and he's a spirit guide now. So hopefully he can help you guys out with a lot of information. Today, the topic is going to be colors. Colors, the specialness of colors and color therapy. So first, I think we'll go ahead and start with you, Eric, unless, Kim, you want to say anything before the close.
Sure. Well, you guys know we have Houston coming up next week, so like Elisa said, we're going to cancel the show next week, but don't worry, we'll pick up the following week. I imagine we're going to be busy with traveling and getting acquainted, getting settled in, and all that good stuff. So catch back up with us the following week. Now, tonight is really interesting. As you guys know, many of you guys have asked, and interestingly enough, a client asked today, I had a Channeling Eric session earlier today. Believe it or not a whole lot of people use a private session to find out what Eric's been up to. Most people will say, I need guidance for this, can you help me with that? But I actually had a client today that was asking, what's Eric been up to? I just want to know what Eric is doing. What's he working on?
Oh, that's so sweet. I bet Eric loved that.
He did. He actually sort of, he kind of stepped back, put his hand on his chest like he was surprised, and he was really grateful and humbled that she asked, so he bowed. He took a bow first to show humility, and it was really interesting. So I want to share some of that with you guys, too, and it's kind of where tonight's message is going to come from, too, when he's talking about, this is kind of some things that he's been talking about lately with a lot of people, when we get into the talk of colors and the importance of colors and what they can tell you. It's a very easy, tangible way for you guys to know yourself in a new way, and that's why he wants to talk about it. But first, a lot of you guys will ask, how come Eric doesn't cuss as much anymore? Or, sometimes he does. You guys know he does. But Eric has been talking about, he's always working on his own personal evolution, his own personal growth. And as he comes in, I'm just going to kind of relay it as he's saying it. So here goes. He says he's tapping on his chest, on his heart, so he's talking about himself. That's his way of referring to self. He says, I always want to work on myself, on my growth and my evolution. Always. That's number one. That's key. He says that's number one. So he says, if I don't continue my growth and evolution with Source and at Source, he says, then I'm limited as far as how much I can help you. So yes, I've grown. Yes, I've changed. I'm still me, and I'll still prank your ass, he says. But he's growing and changing in a lot of ways. And because he says, you guys, and he's referencing mankind, not just Americans, but man, like all of man. He says, you guys are growing and changing too. Your collective is shifting in a big way, and I got to know how to keep up with that shit, he says. So he knows what is needed and what will be needed from him to help you guys. So he's always working on himself, for himself, but also for you guys. So know that it's important for you guys to know that because he wants you to know that. He wants you to know.
Well, why is it so important? Why is cleaning up the language so important?
He says it's not necessarily cleaning up the language, Mom. He says don't think about it like cleaning up. Think about it as expressing myself in a new perspective, like through a different through a different avenue. So he says, it's funny. He says, I'm not going to get rid of it. Trust me. I'll never get rid of it because then you wouldn't know me at all.
I know. Wouldn't recognize you.
He says, but I'm choosing to express myself in new ways. And I want you guys to grow with me, he says. Like, what he means by that is, like, allow yourselves to grow on a personal level and express yourself in new ways, too. Like, he wants to, lead by example, I guess is what he's showing. Like, you can grow and evolve, and he's trying to lead by example. So he says, I hope for you guys tonight that I teach you God, he's such a pervert. Hands. He says, I want to teach you guys a hands-on approach because I like having my hands on things. And he's, like, showing himself, like, you know, a guy would, like, take his fingers in and out. Like, he has his hands up in front of him like he's squishing something. But he says, hands-on is the best way to be, right? He's just kind of laughing. He thinks he's hilarious. And he thinks it's even funnier when he embarrasses me. But he wants you guys to have that tangibility to his guidance, and that's what tonight's about. He's like, I know, sometimes I get way out there, and it feels like you can't grip what I'm saying or you can't grasp it. So tonight he wants to give you guys guidance that you can physically do to get to know yourself better.
That's awesome.
Because, he says, because when you come here, Mom, this is something... Tonight we talk about colors, color therapy, and how you get to know yourself through different colors, kind of how they relate to chakras, but don't limit yourself to just thinking about the chakras. It's more about a vibration. And when you come here, Mom, he says, you open up to a whole new world of colors. There you can only perceive like a fraction of the entire scale of colors or the entire spectrum.
I cannot imagine. I've heard that. I just can't imagine.
Yeah, he's actually almost kind of like conveying pity. He was like, you'd never imagine. Like, he's showing we can see like one little tick mark on this massive scale.
You poor saps. Yes, I know.
Yeah. So he wants you guys to know yourself through colors, what they mean to you, and so on. So, because then when you come there, he says, when you come home, you'll already have that deep understanding of yourself through the fields of colors, and then when you come here, it just kind of amplifies. You just propel yourself in understanding through what colors mean to you. Now, this information, he's funny, he says, you guys need to understand this information is going to be relative to you on a personal level. So he's going to give you a universal explanation, but you have to listen to where it resonates with you.
Go for it.
He says, okay, he's like, you want to pick and choose colors? That's great. He says, whether it's colors that you wear, colors that you use, or that you're just naturally drawn to, get to know yourself through these colors and what they mean to you. And we'll dig deeper on that message there in a minute. But he also says, be mindful of the colors that you don't resonate with. And this is something, believe it or not, he just started talking to me about a week ago. I was in the store, and I was drawn to this shirt that was like teal. And I was like, oh, my God, that's so cool.
That's my favorite color.
Awesome. Previously, I would have never worn teal. I've always told my friends I'm not a blue-green person. I'll never wear blue or green. It's not my color.
Oh, I am definitely blue-green. I am definitely blue.
Isn't that funny?
Deep blue, deep green.
I've always tried to be a warmer tone or blacks and whites, just plain boring.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, well, when I saw that shirt, and I was like, oh, but, I went to that thought, that limiting thought, well, I don't wear blue or green, so I might as well not get it. And he was like, now stop for a minute and ask yourself why. Why don't you resonate with that color? Go beyond that. He said, what is it about that vibration that you feel like you don't resonate with? He says, it's very easy. Don't make it harder than what it is. If you don't resonate with a color, or even if a color repels you, he says you got some work to do. You got some healing to do, if you want to call it healing, or self-exploration.
Yeah, I don't like diarrhea brown. That's, or snot olive green. No, I draw the line on that.
Or like mustard yellow. No, he called it cat shit yellow or cat shit. Like, what? I don't know why he's referencing cat shit.
Yeah, no, I don't do that.
But he says the colors that you feel pushed away from or that you don't resonate with, you need to do some self-exploration there. If you need to, he says, reference the chakras first and get to know what they stand for. But it's also a vibration, he says. There could be some development on that vibrational level. So let's say, for example, the color yellow resonates in the 400s if we're talking about like hertz, at a frequency, at a vibrational level. If you're repulsed by the color yellow, you don't wear yellow, or it's too loud or too bright for you, and he talks in that tone. He says you need to do some self-exploration at that vibration. Now, how do you do that? Okay, he says, well, you can wear it, you can drink it, eat it, but it's the practice of allowing it, accepting it, like being one with it, and that might take some time. And he's like elbowing me. He's like her. I still don't wear blue-greens much because I don't know what it is about blue-green that I just feel funky with. I feel off. And he says, well, then you need to discover yourself more in that vibration. So if you want to go to that level with the clairs, too, we're going to talk about this next week at the event in Houston, too. If you want to talk about the clairs and how they resonate with those vibrations, he says, then we're going to get into the good stuff. And he's kind of rubbing his hands together. So, for example, me being someone who I love the blue-greens, but not enough to really incorporate them in my life a whole lot. Lately, that is shifting to where now I don't like the warmer tones. I'm more on the cool tones. He's like, so pay attention. It's a reflection of your consciousness and what's happening with your consciousness and where you're resonating. So if you're in like the blues, the greens, even like he's showing like a purple kind of color. Yeah, he's like, no, purple doesn't really grasp it. I guess it's like a violet. Somehow it's also iridescent, though. But anyway, he's showing these being like at a higher vibration. So it's just reflecting where your consciousness is now.
So your tendency to now pull toward teals and blues, greens, or purples, what does that mean? Does that mean you're going to a higher vibration?
Well, it's he says don't think of it so much as higher, but just a different area of awareness. So I'm
not talking about higher is better. I'm talking about from the standpoints of hertz.
Right. Okay. Well, then, yeah. He says yes. He says he's kind of joking, like with the red. He's like, well, Kim she's done. She's jaded with the warmer tones. She's done working on them, so that's why she's shifting. So you guys know he always uses me as an example, but I've done a lot of exploration in those levels, and I've kind of neglected the blue-green tones. So think about what those mean. They represent the heart. They represent self-expression. And that's why I say gently use the chakras as reference points for information and what these colors represent. But also listen to yourself and what you feel. He wants to use another example. Listen to yourself and what you feel when you gravitate towards a color, or you feel like you need to rebuke a color, he says. He wants to use another example. He keeps showing me like crystals. He's like, okay, here, hold this red crystal. And you might be like, I don't feel anything. And then here, hold this green crystal. And you're like, oh, yeah, that feels amazing. I love how that, I feel so inspired or so connected or whatever. So if you don't feel anything with that red one, that's where you need to do some work, some self-exploration. But he says, Mom, whenever you do work, self-exploration, it can't be forced. It's not something forced like, okay, I'm going to sit here and, who am I in this vibration?
Of course not.
You have to, and this is what we're going to, we're really going to take a much better approach next week at this, where I'll actually play those frequencies for you guys. It's just a solid tone, but it's in the frequency of color. So, I'll play the tone of red for you guys. I'll play the tone of green. And it's fun to have people guess, like, well, show me, like, where does this resonate in your body? So it's just your body is going to absorb that frequency where it's needed and bring balance. He doesn't like the word balance, though, because balance is an illusion. But to get you guys to understand what he's saying, he'll say that word. So he says, what I mean is, even if you're used to, he's actually going to call out my Aunt Lisa. I don't think she listens to the show, but she's a black and white person. That's like her wardrobe is black and white. So look at what that represents. Where's the color? Does she
black is slimming, man. Black is slimming.
No kidding.
I go for black.
He says you've got to get to know yourself, and it's not just about wardrobe though either. It's about resonating with that color. Like if you are out in nature, you might be drawn to a certain color plant, certain color flowers versus others. What does that mean to you? He's saying, like, basically give fair attention to every color, because every color will have, I know this might sound corny and cheesy, but it's true. Every color will have the highest good for you available. You just have to allow it. Now, when you can let go, this is the hard part, when you can let go of the ego and allow yourself to get to know yourself through these colors, what does a color say about you? What does a color bring out in you? This, again, for example, for me, if I do incorporate the color teal, I'm feeling more extroverted, more self-expressive. If I wear it, like if I incorporate it in my wardrobe, I'm feeling a little more brave, bold, expressive. If I wear red tones, to me personally, so he wants you guys to listen to how you resonate with the colors, and especially if you choose them in your wardrobe, what does it mean for you when you choose in your wardrobe? So again, for me, if I wear red, I'm feeling more like I need to protect myself, kind of withdrawn or introverted. And then black, I'm feeling like, I need to connect to self, ground myself. So pay attention to the colors that you resonate with and why. Just ask yourself, listen. Because he says, I promise you'll learn a lot about yourself as you explore yourself through different colors and try it.
How can people learn about their proclivity for certain colors and what that says about them?
Well, he says if it's, he says ask yourself and listen, or he goes, he like shrugs his shoulder. He goes, hell, even answer yourself. If you're feeling like, say you're a dude, he says, and you were going to wear blue, but you're feeling like you're going to wear orange instead. What is it that made you choose orange? Is it the mood? What mood are you in? Are you feeling a little more subtle? Are you feeling a little more insecure? Are you feeling a little more confident? Is that why you want to wear orange instead of blue? Why are you not feeling blue? So it could tell you a lot about your mood. He says colors. Okay, and then he wants to talk about habits real quick too. He says colors can tell you a lot about your mood and a lot about your personality, and can also bring like new areas for you to express yourself, or like new characteristics in your personality, like new traits to you. So if you choose to express yourself through different colors or incorporate different colors in your life, then think of it as like birthing new areas of your personality, like opening up brand new places of yourself. He says, hold that thought, and he wants to talk about habits real quick. He says, are you a person that incorporates color through habit? Like, and he's talking about food. So if you habitually eat a lot of greens, if you're just a green person, you gravitate towards greens.
Stay away from blue food. That's all I'm saying. Blue food, not good.
He says the more color you can incorporate in your diet, too, the better rejuvenation for your energy at, again, the level of frequency, the vibration. This is more than just the physical self. This is the soul self, he says.
Yeah.
So, and I'm one of those people, I guess, I gotta explore a little bit more. Like, I buy the same stuff every time I grocery shop. Poor kids, poor family. So he says to break it up a little bit and try new things and be mindful of the colors, of all your fruits and veggies. And, again, why do you steer away from...
So you just pick what you're drawn to. Why am I drawn to dark blues and dark greens, Eric? And not liking, olive green snot color. That's like a sinus infection color. I don't like that. So what's up with that?
He says, Mom, you're in the heart space, working on expressing the heart. So when you're drawn to colors, or when you're resonating with them, you can wear them. You can, you're really just drawn to them when you gravitate to them. That's where your consciousness is. So he says, again, this is where it would be helpful to reference the chakras and look at what they represent. But you can go deeper too. But it's the heart frequency, greens, blues. Your work, your
blues, the communication, heart, green. So I want to express from my heart. Is that what you're saying? Communicate from my heart?
You got it. He did a...
Okay, so why don't I like sinus infection colors? What's up with that?
He says it's not a pure color. He says if it's if we're talking like olive green, he says there's different tones, but the brighter, like the clearer, if it's looking muddy or murky, doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, but it's not what you resonate with. So someone next to you might be obsessed with olive green, and you're disgusted with their obsession with that color. But it's just a different, think about it in numbers. Let's say at the heart, you're at like 500 hertz. And then that color, 500 produces a certain color of green. And then maybe 550 produces another color of green that's olive. You like the emerald, they like the olive. So it's just a different scale, Mom. And it depends on where you are in your consciousness as far as who's going to resonate with what. But he's like challenging you guys to, if you feel repelled by a certain color, explore that. Explore that with your heart, he says.
And I'm sure you can look online to find out what each color means, what it says about you, what you're drawn to, what you're repulsed by. And I think that if you Google that, you'd probably find out. I think we should probably continue this, not next week, but week after or week after that, as far as color therapy, because I think we should touch on that, because I think colors, as well as sounds, can be so healing. Is that right, Eric?
Yeah, definitely. And that's why he wants you guys to challenge yourselves to open up to incorporating new colors, because if you feel repulsed by it, you're likely ignoring something that you need to work on, he says. So in the meantime, until we get to do that and talk more deeply about color therapy, at least start exploring other colors. Like turquoise for me is such a pretty color, but
it's pretty.
Yeah, I just couldn't handle it in my life until the last 6 months probably, and now my freaking living room turned that color on New Year's Eve. Go figure.
Wow.
But yeah, so just explore yourself in those ways, he says, because you'll get to know a whole new side of yourself, and you probably allow healing to occur too.
Okay, I gotta stop you and say, listen to this. You hear that? Okay, I'm in this office of mine all the time, and the only time that stupid timer goes off is during our radio show. Eric, stop it! I just got through turning it off, and he makes it turn on. It's in my drawer, hidden, far away, no hands, or there's nobody with an opposable thumb but me, and that's questionable at the best. And it goes off. somebody's pushing that button. Is that you, Eric?
He's laughing. He says, "You don't want me to stop." You joke and you say, "Oh, Eric, stop." He's like, "You don't want me to stop, and you know it."
Nah, I guess not. But at first I did because I thought, oh my God, you're going to be, messing with these people. You're going to be disturbing. So I, throw it as hard as I could away from the chair to see if the battery would come out, but it didn't. For some reason, it just kept getting louder.
He said,
but anyway,
you wouldn't know me any other way, would you? Like a pesky alarm?
I guess not, man. But we will talk about color therapy time after next. I think the next time we talk, we're going to have comedian Joey Herman on, and he's going to talk about his whole spiritual growth. And he's got so much to share about surrender and acceptance and things like that. And Eric, I think, likes him because they are cut from the same cloth, kind of raw people, and in-your-face people. Right, Eric?
Sounds like a good show. He's just doing this drum roll. He keeps doing this for like this real funny drum roll. Like, you know how if a comedian's making jokes, how they'll hit a couple drums and then a cymbal or whatever. Oh gosh.
Oh yeah. Boom, ching. Yeah.
Yes. That's what he keeps doing. So he'll be there to play the drums for Joey, he says. So he's looking forward to it.
Sounds good. As long as you don't dance, Eric. I know you've taken lessons from Michael Jackson, but still, probably some work to be done. But anywho, let's go ahead and start taking callers if that's okay with you. But first I want to say thank you to liveparanormal.com because it's an amazing radio channel. They've got so many wonderful shows, including ours. And, I hope you guys explore them because they have so much to offer in this vein of spirituality. Now, let's take somebody. Let's look at a foreign caller from the 4475 many numbers.
Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
Can you hear me?
Hi. Hey.
I'm fine, thanks. How are you guys doing? All good?
We are doing great. What's your first name?
All right, so, Raphael. I am a third-time caller, and I was worried that you guys would kick me off because, third time in a year is too much.
Raphael, you're dead to me. You can't do that. I'm kidding.
Yeah, too much. I'm calling from London.
Oh,
cool. I'm only doing this because I really need to. Right now, I'm confused right now. So can I give a backstory in my life? So yeah. So growing up, I had some notes in front of me. Growing up, I experienced what most people call the normal parenting, which is just a form of dysfunctional, abusive parenting. So I had well-intentioned parents which abused me. They verbally, emotionally, and even sometimes physically in ways they couldn't perceive themselves because they were also abused growing up. This is the pattern we have with education.
And that's pretty common in Europe, actually.
Looking back, I can see in my life, I can figure a pattern. It's almost as if my life was designed so I could experience it from the perspective of a person with a smashed sense of self-esteem. That's the thing. It was very well designed so I could experience it from this perspective. So through my experience, I came to realize that we have fucked up big time with children, I'm sorry for the language. And we can fix the sick world and ourselves and create a beautiful world if we just start to respect and support and love kids unconditionally. We don't do it now. So I just want to be financially independent so I can go back to my home country and resolve my past and just basically create a new paradigm for the relationship that we have with children because nowadays it's horrible. But right now I'm doing another thing. I'm working to be a very well-known musician in London. But I'm just confused right now. My life, I'm pretty confused because the environment that I'm in, I just feel like I don't fit in. I just, sometimes some places where I am with some people, I feel like the relationships are so honest and the pace of life is so simple and so I feel accepted where I am. But right now where I am, which is the place that I kind of need to be to develop my musician and my music, I just don't feel accepted. I just feel like I don't fit in this place. The thing,
maybe you're in the wrong place.
I'm doing, the places. But
how can you succeed in a place where you feel unaccepted? Let's see what Eric has to say. Eric, what you got? Sure, go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and let Eric chime in on this because he has a lot to say. A couple of things he wants you to think about. Okay. So first we're going to talk about the collective consciousness of any location. He says it's legit, people. You have to acknowledge that no matter where you go, there is a collective consciousness that can affect the way you feel.
Yeah, I
especially
bet.
if you're sensitive to your surroundings, your environment. If you allow yourself to feel, you're going to pick up on it sooner or later. If the collective consciousness is a lower vibration, and you're a higher vibration than that around you, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel like you don't fit in, or like you have a hard time maintaining a connection. He goes, how the hell do you think I feel when I try to connect to people with a really low vibration? He's like, it's really hard to maintain that connection just because our vibes are different. So if you're not vibing with a place, let that be, flag number one. He also says, too, though, what's most important is for you, he's been saying this a lot lately, and I know you guys have heard him say this before. He says what's most important for you first is to connect to your passion and your true passion. If knowing you're deeply passionate about your music and expressing yourself through it.
Sorry, can I interrupt you there? Because I just got. It doesn't mean because my passion, I would say that my true passion would be like the humane side of it. So the children thing, the changing the paradigm of things. I love music too, but I'm so driven. That's like confusing because when he says that, does it mean should I connect to the music right now? Should I connect to both? Should I pay attention and see where it drives me?
Sure, he'll give you guidance on that in just a moment. A lot of times he'll tell you, I'm not going to answer that for you. You have to ask your heart.
Yeah.
Because if it's answered by him, now you're living through his illusion. He's basically posing an illusion to you. So he'll give you guidance on that in just a minute. But what he was saying was, no matter if it's helping children, if that's your passion, or if your music is your passion, no matter where you live, your passion is your passion. No matter where you are, your passion is your passion. So connect to that first and lock it in, sink it in with your heart. And whether you feel accepted or not will have no bearing on your ability to make a difference. So if it's music or if it's children, he says that you're going to be effective with both, though, with music and children. But he kind of shows.
Is it songs for children? Are we talking about songs? Creating songs for children?
No.
Probably not.
No.
He's, I don't know. He doesn't really resonate a whole lot with that. But he's showing you, Raphael, he's showing you being able to somehow break the patterns of certain generations and how they implement rules and regulations and organization over children. It's somehow you allow them, you allow more freedom, but there's still structure to it. It's not like you wipe away structure and organization. You still keep structure, but you show that it's productive to trust children. So I think that somehow you're going to break those patterns of what's the word, micromanaging almost, to a point where it does become abusive. Your music is going to help inspire, he says. I feel like your music is going to inspire older people, to soften them. So I don't know what kind of music you write or sing or whatever, but it seems like your music inspires the heart and softens the heart. So your listeners, it will have the effect needed on your listeners, on the older generations, to also work in sync with the way that you're helping the younger generations. So,
what do you think, he belongs still in London, or should he move to someplace else? What about Texas? They have an awesome burgeoning music scene, or LA, of course.
He's like, Mom, you're not biased, are you? But
what?
He says, Mom, you're not biased, are you? He's just kind of joking.
I'm a true
you're not partial to Texas, are you? But no, he says.
No, but the music scene here is awesome.
Yeah, he says to understand how the collective consciousness is speaking to you. If you feel like you just can't jive with the place, you got to listen to that feeling. But he also says your passion, when you really connect with it, it'll supersede your environment. And this is where I was going to tell you earlier. He keeps repeating this phrase I know you guys have heard this before, and it's probably easier said than done. Practice being in the world and not of the world, okay? Now, the reason why he says this to you is when you say, like, it's my passion, but I just feel like I don't fit in here. I don't know if I'm going to be accepted. I don't feel like I fit in. You know, a lot of this has to do with, like, residual emotions from your childhood, he says. But when you practice being in the world and not of it, the external things that happen won't affect the internal, like the true self. So when you practice knowing that, your passion will always rise above your environment. It's kind of like, you know, for me personally, where I live, what I do is not talked about. It's not easily accepted, but I'm so connected to my passion with it that I could care less if people understand it. Like, I am so driven through the passion of it that, you know, others' inability to understand it and accept it has no bearing on my passion.
Yeah, that's their problem.
Yeah,
right.
So it's
well, boy, I think
their insecurities.
We could probably spend another 30 minutes just talking to Raphael about his life and so on, but I think we probably need to go into another caller. But wow, I think what's been said here probably helps a lot of other people.
Yeah, I hope so. Best wishes to you, Raphael. I hope that helps.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, really.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think that'll help a lot of people. I hope so.
I hope so.
Here's one from the 206 area code. Hi there. How are you doing?
Hi. Thank you for taking my call.
Hi. Thanks for calling.
You sound just like Raphael. The last caller.
This is
What's your first name?
Freddy Garcia.
Pardon me? Oh, okay.
Freddy. Yeah, from Seattle.
Oh,
yeah,
Seattle,
my question is that, I've been studying a book which is called Revelation Alpha and Omega, and it claims to be the new Bible for the planet. And I just want to make sure it's a good book to read. I also been reading the Golden Book of Saint Germain. And I also want to double check if it's a good source of information. And my last question, it will be ask Eric. I want to ask Eric if I have any implants in my body right now.
Any what in your body?
Any etheric implants.
Okay.
Okay. So this is what Eric is saying. This is a concept. This is sticky.
Oh God.
This is either going to be one of those things that resonates with you or it doesn't. He says he's showing himself like walking through tar. You're either going to walk through it and it's going to slide right off you, or it's going to stick to you. Basically, he's saying it's either going to resonate with you or it's not. I think, you know, what you're asking, based on Eric's perspective, is like esoteric implants are theory-based, he says. Like, this is what he's saying. This, whatever we're talking about, is far beyond my knowledge and understanding, so I'm just going to fly with it. Eric says that any sort of, like, energy implants or esoteric implants or anything to that effect is theory-based, and he has a very straight face and, like, a very matter-of-fact look on his face, and he's tapping on his temple. And it's created right here. He says, the true essence of you, think about it like this. Everybody is the same. The only differences, and he's like using air quotes with his fingers, the only differences that one has from another, whether it's, you know, esoteric implants or whatever, is the belief that they are there. If you believe in it, you host it, no matter what it is, really. If you believe in anger, you host it, you become it. If you believe in, you know, these different, you know, basically what you believe in, you manifest for yourself. But the truth is, he says, the bottom line is, we all come from a high source that starts as light, manifests a solid matter like you and me. He thinks he's funny for some reason when he says that. He's laughing at himself. But he says,
what about the new Bible? The new Bible, the Revelation Alpha and Omega. We claims to be the new Bible for the planet. That means the third Bible.
I didn't quite hear your question, but I can still translate what Eric is saying because Eric's already connected to you. He says that you're questioning, he's tapping on the heart, he says you're questioning the, number one, the authenticity, like the authenticity of the information, and then like the content, if the content is true or not. He says, I can't tell you that. This is where, he says, look, people, no matter what you read or how you read it, it's either going to resonate with you or it's not. And it has everything to do with where your consciousness is. And a lot of people ask Eric these questions, these very same questions. You know, should I be reading this? Should I believe that? Which author is better? And Eric won't tell you that. He'll tell you, read it. Does it resonate with you? Okay, ask yourself why. Explore that. Does it not resonate with you? Ask yourself why and explore that. He says, because if I begin to speak for you, then again, I put you into an illusion that is unfair to you. So he's telling you to trust what you're drawn to read. If you're inspired to read or study something, trust that you're being given the information that you need for your consciousness at that point in time, like for your personal evolution, for your personal growth.
You know, I can understand that. It seems like when something resonates with me, then of course that's what I glean and take to heart. And if it doesn't, I just dismiss it. So I think that's what people need to do here.
Yeah.
Thank you for calling in. I hope that helped you.
Yeah, I hope it helped.
It's a wonderful work that you're doing for humanity.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for calling in. I'm going to check that out, the Alpha and Omega.
Yeah. People get frustrated with Eric because
he came down in South America, and he claims to be the new Bible. So it's a big book.
Cool.
Yeah, it tells you everything about.
So Revelations, the Alpha and the Omega. Okay, I'm going to check it out.
Revelation Alpha and Omega, the third Bible for the planet.
Revelations, Alpha and Omega. Okay, thank you so much for giving us that information. We'll check it out. Everybody, check it out.
Very cool.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, we're going to take somebody from the 914 area code. Hi there. How are you doing? And welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for taking my call. This is my first time listening to your show.
Awesome. What's your first name?
Catherine.
And where are you calling from?
New York.
Oh, New York. That's where my daughter is right now. My little baby daughter is all alone in New York with a bunch of friends. And having a great time, so that's awesome.
Oh, I'm glad. Oh, good. Good for her. Good for her.
All right. What's your question for Eric?
Yeah.
I just thought it was very serendipitous. I actually reached out to somebody named Eric for work, so I was wondering if you see him getting back to me, if it will be a go, that we'll work together.
Ooh, interesting question. So your question for Eric is basically you've reached out to another Eric, and you're wanting Eric Medhus to give you guidance on or perspective on if this other Eric is going to kind of reciprocate your efforts?
Yes, perfectly said. Yes, thank you.
Let's see. He says, well, he can answer your question in accordance to his vibration right now, but free will is ever changing. So it's that part is out of his hands. He says, trust me, you've already sparked his interest. So it's the feeling of, like, don't think that your request has gone unnoticed or Eric's pacing. He goes, uncontemplated? Is that a word? And he's like, no. And he continues pacing. He continues pacing, and he's like, no. But you know what I mean.
He was a pacer. Ooh, God.
He does a lot. He says your request, echoes in his mind, kind of resonates. He keeps showing it, circling through his mind. So I think He's going to give it some time before he responds. But I think it's going to be, even when he responds, Eric says, and again, this is based on his vibration right now, seems like he's going to he's going to play it cool like dudes often do, Eric says, and keep it surface level. So just keep that in mind. But it's all to, it's a thing that guys do, whether it's a professional relationship or a personal, it doesn't matter. He's like, dudes do that shit, he says. So I think even when he responds, it may be surface level, but he'll give you more. So don't take that the wrong way. But initially, I think he's going to respond. He's going to take some time. He'll respond and then kind of keep it surface level when he does. So I hope that helps, and I hope that it inspires you. He says, but to tell you to continue visualizing what you hope for, because it's all about you, sister, he says, and what you visualize, you manifest. So don't give up on your own power, he says.
Hell no. That's awesome. I hope that helped. Thanks for calling in.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. Thank you both. Thank you. Thank all three of you.
You're welcome. Thanks for calling.
Many blessings.
You're so welcome. Bye.
Thank you.
What a sweet voice she had.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah. All right, we're going to talk to somebody from the 337 area code. Hey there, what's your first name? What's that again?
Hello?
Hi.
Who are we talking to? Hi.
I'm John from Lake Charles.
Hey, John from Lake Charles. A next door neighbor, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a quick question. I wanted to know what, I guess maybe my higher self might have, message from my higher self or something I'd like to hear. I guess I'm kind of having a blah day. Every now and then I get myself going, and then every now and then I kind of just run into a brick wall. So I'm just, and I guess like going back with the other caller in, it gets so confusing sometimes. Like everybody's got a different opinion about how things work and different books, and I got like tons of books, and it's like I've gotten to the point where I've just like leave them all on the shelf, and because if I read each one, everyone's opinion is a little bit differently about how the whole life thing works and stuff.
He says, and that's the beauty of the universe. So
yeah, it is, but it's like sometimes you just want a little guidance, and it's like there's always free will, and it's like, all right, so someone tell me what to do.
Sure. And that's where it's beautiful to have all those books on your shelves, he says, because free will allows so much, and we'll get into that in a minute. But first of all, as you start talking, sometimes Eric will make me feel different sensations physically to tell me what's going on with you. And I know it might sound a little bit crazy, but as you're talking, like the soles of my feet, the bottoms of my feet are burning, like they feel like they're on fire. This is his way of very easily telling me that you need to ground yourself. So it doesn't surprise me. The more you talk, the more I hear you talking about feeling a little bit lost, confused, like you're not quite sure which area to move forward in, what resonates, and where your motivation is. So the first thing he's showing is I feel like in a big way you need to ground yourself. There are so many ways to interpret that message, okay? You can ground yourself through clairvoyance. You can ground yourself through clairaudience. You can ground yourself in your financial part of your life or in your romantic part of your life, right? So that can translate so many ways. But what he's saying is you need to ground yourself in your own discernment. You can read all the shit out there, he says. It's on the shelves. No offense to anybody, he says. But what's most important is going to be you and this. And I have to tell you this visual that he's sharing. Is it John? Did you say John or Don? Because I want to make sure I address you.
John, Jon, John.
Don, okay. John, this is what he's showing me. He's like, this is what's most important. And he walks up to you, and he shows me this image like if you're wearing a pearl snap shirt. Like he rips your shirt open and he's like tapping
Oh my
on your
God.
chest really hard. He's tapping on your chest.
He loved pearl snaps. He would always have this private joke with his dad about pearl snaps. The pearl snap.
Oh my
man.
gosh, that's so funny. Because I was gonna say button up, and he's like, "No, you say pearl snap."
Oh yeah.
But
That's
so he rips it open as if you're wearing it, John, and he says, "This is what's most important. What's in here, not all this." Because all of this is somebody else's perspective. And when he says all of this, he's showing like all the books he read. It's somebody else's truth. It's somebody else's perspective. So what's most important is this. And, dang it, I love when he gets this fired up. It's been a while. He says, when he says this, he's tapping on your chest, talking about your heart. And he says, don't you dare let anybody take that away. I promise he'll give guidance. Just bear with me. He says, don't you dare let anybody take that away, and don't give it away. Talking about your own personal power, your own discernment, what you feel a connection to, and relying on that inner guidance, that discernment, is your key. Now, this is I gotta say this before I forget, because he keeps giving it so quickly I can barely retain it.
Hold on to it.
Yeah, exactly. It's and we might have to take some time with this, but when Elisa started asking me to trans-channel Eric, I was like, oh, okay, I've never done that. I've never read the first thing about it. I don't know how to do it. So I asked Eric, like, what do you think? Should we do it? And he was like, yes, but don't read anything about it. Just go with what feels right. Just do what feels right to you. Because if you read, you'll be all worried about, did I do step 1 right? Did I fuck up step 3?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, just do what feels right with you. So I did, and it worked, and it was interesting. But the point is, you can read as much as you want, but at the end of the day, read your heart. He says, like he's pulling this book out of your heart that is the book of you, and he says, read this. And he says, but it's so hard. Bear with me here. He says it's so hard because it's so simple, and we're not used to simplicity. We build things up. They're supposed to be complex and difficult.
So what guidance do you have for him, Eric? Because we're getting a little close on time.
Yeah, he says the simplicity of following your heart is going to be the first thing. He says to ground yourself in your own discernment. So go back over with yourself. What's important to you? Where do you stand in all of this? What do you resonate with, and what do you not? Because when you get caught up in reading all sorts of other things, you can easily become uprooted and not grounded in self. So ground, if you need a chakra to reference, he's talking about the orange, the sacral. Ground yourself through that, but work on personal discernment. Because when you don't have connection to that, that's when you can feel blah. You can feel unmotivated. Then you start to carry the whole weight of the world on your shoulders, and that's not fair either, he says.
So should he listen to the sacral chakra type balancing music on iTunes and things like that? Would that help?
This is his response. He goes, yeah, do it.
Okay, good.
So my feet are still on fire for you,
grounded.
John. So I'm with you. I can feel how much you need to ground yourself. But it's much deeper than just grounding through walking barefoot outside or whatever. Practice, connecting to your own discernment again, and I think that will help.
Thank you, ladies, so much. Thank you.
You're so welcome. And
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Well, before we close, Kim, is there anything else first of all, Eric, I want to tell you I love you so much and I miss you. And second of all, Kim, is there anything else you'd like to share? For example, I will share your website, www.kimbabcock.net, and do a / and do upcoming -events, and you can find out all about the Houston event coming up. It's going to be amazing, life-changing. Her event in Columbus, Ohio, in Laguna Beach. She's got one in Brisbane and one in Edinburgh. So, or they say Edinburgh, but it looks like Edinburgh, so I don't know.
I know.
Don't
I always get confused on that, but that's right. First of all, Eric's mom, he says, "I love you," and he's referencing his hat. So I don't know if you have a hat of his still, or. If
oh yes. Oh yeah. Oh
he's leaving
yeah.
up with his hat, but he's like, "Talk about my hat."
Mm.
So
yeah.
he says to tell you, he says, "I love you, Mom," and he's
yeah, he was a
taking
hat
his
man.
hand.
He had his sixpence hats, and ball caps, all sorts of things that he just loved.
Aww.
Little bowler hats. Yeah.
But yeah, he says, Eric is kind of the push behind some of these events for sure. You guys have asked for us to come to Australia and Edinburgh, and even out to the West Coast. So I'm planning on doing a night in San Diego and a full day in Laguna Beach to really try to connect with you guys out there, teach you some of these things that Eric has taught so many, and then it's going to be a live, open platform. If you guys have questions for Eric or your loved ones or anything else, come to some of these events, and we'll make those connections, and I promise you guys will leave with not only enlightenment, but a stronger sense of self and a good grip on what's going on in this thing we call life. So that's what Eric does best. He helps us deal. So I hope to see you guys at these events, and you can find it again on my website at kimbabcock.net. And guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. This is, Eric. Sometimes I just kind of give him the reins completely and say, what do people need to hear about? And he's like, you know what? Let's talk about colors. So we're going to pick up the week after next and get a little bit deeper into color therapy. So I hope you guys join us for that show too.
All right, thanks for joining us, guys. Hope I see some of you guys in my home in Houston, not this weekend, but next weekend, and we'll see you on the next show, which is not next Thursday, but Thursday after. So thank you guys for joining us. I love you all, and adios.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.